the Compressed Gas Association. So this is the agency that is responsible for the manufacture and the storage and the production of all medical gases. So again, the manufacturing, the storage, and the production of medical gases. So they are the ones that are responsible for the color coding of the tanks. So First Lab has already seen that and been talked to about that. So all medical gases, they have a color code that is unique to them. And this is of course only for the United States, but other countries do that too, but they're going to be different colors than what we have in the United States. So they have color codes, and they also are responsible for the safety systems that are in place for the different sizes of tanks. And we have 3 actually safety systems. I don't know why the other one is not up there, but so we have 3, but there should be another one here. We have what's called the diameter index safety system. It's the DISS. And we have, and I think I'm going to go through each one of them individually. Let me make sure. Yes, I am. Okay, before I jump ahead. We have the American Standard Safety System, the ASSS, and then we have another one called the PIN Index Safety System, or the PISS. So if you were in First Lab today, you worked with the PIN Index Safety System. That was on the smaller E tanks. You set up a regulator and you put the PIN index in place. Again, that was for the smaller tank. So there are those 3 safety systems, yes.
Can you say that one more time? It's responsible for manufacturing,
storage, and production of medical gases. But they also do the color coding and then the 3 safety systems. So they do a lot. The Compressed Gas Agency does a lot for us. Okay. There are also some recommending agencies that are important as far as medical gases are concerned. There's a couple of subcommittees, some that I don't really expect you to know, just to kind of be aware of. But one of the important ones here is the NFPA, the National Fire Protection Agency, because they are the ones that are responsible for the storage of flammable gases. So if we're talking about like how they are stored in a building, like ours in the, you guys are gonna see the tank room today, and they have to be stored securely in those carts or up against the wall. They have, you know, specific strapping that they have to be held to. That is the National Fire Protection Agency, and it's so that they don't explode, right? They don't fall, and then the stems go, right? That's why. So the National Fire Protection Agency is responsible for that kind of storage, especially when they are stored in large facilities that are then going to be transported to and from. The CGA regulates that, but the NFPA is the one that says, hey, this is how they need to be kept when they're inside these large buildings for storage. They're going to be dealing with, obviously they are flammable and they are combustible. This is how you have to store them. So the NFPA does that. So that's kind of important. Okay, some other regulating agencies that you need to know about. The Department of Transportation, they kind of play a big role here. So they're responsible for the way that the cylinder is actually constructed. Because it is under seamless construction, and we're gonna look at how they're like spun and what they're made out of, but they are responsible for how the cylinder is constructed, and then how we ship it, how it's filled, how it's marked, because they all have they have stamping on them, and then they are labeled specifically, and the DOT does all of that for us. So I don't know if you've ever noticed before, if you're in Illinois, it's called IDOT, right? Illinois Department of Transportation. Like if you're in Missouri, it's MoDOT, right? So that each state has their own Department of Transportation. And just kind of a fun fact, Department of Transportation before Nineteen seventy, it was called ICC, not Illinois Central College, it was called the Interstate Commerce Commission. So, yeah, if you ever were looking at something and you're like, what does that mean? It's always been DOT. Well, it actually wasn't, it changed names. But they have some other subdivisions that are under, that help us with that transportation piece of the Department of Transportation. You can probably guess what some of these acronyms are. FAA, anybody? FAA? Federal
I just know FDA.
Aviation? Federal Aviation Administration, United States Coast Guard, yes, and then we have, this one you probably don't know, Federal Housing Administration, so, some other pieces that help us with our transport for the DOT. This one's also very important, the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. You never thought we'd be talking about all these regulating agencies, right? Yes, why do we have to know that? These guys set our purity standards for our medical gases, so that is hugely important. They're the ones that say, hey, if you're gonna be giving medical grade gas, it needs to be pure, right? It needs to be clean, it needs to be pure, and they say that oxygen needs to be 99% pure. Well, where's the other 1%? Dirty? I don't know. No, it's not. Actually, when we're giving it in the hospital, we're actually giving it 99.9% pure. Isn't that amazing? Or 99.5, I think it's 0.5% pure. Now, I don't know where the 0.5 goes, but it is actually 99.5% pure that we're giving in the hospital. So that's kind of cool. But they're the ones that set our purity standards for us. I guess it's trace elements. I don't know what kind of trace elements. Nitrogen, maybe, I'm not sure. It's fine, you're fine, it's not gonna hurt you. You're basically fine. But they also have some like precautionary statements out there, but they're the ones that regulate that. They do a lot of regulations like the FDA does, not just food, but all the drugs that, like medications and like makeup and you know, anything you put on your body, basically, it's kind of crazy. Okay. So here's what I was talking about as far as construction of the cylinders. I've been saying that they're seamless, meaning that they are, when they're spun, there's no seam in the cylinder, and that's for safety reasons, so that if there was a seam and it was under pressure and it got too hot, if those cylinders got too hot, they could actually explode. So nobody wants that, right? Most of them are made out of steel or aluminum, the cylinders are, but there are some other chrome alloy type of metals as well. They are usually spun into shape. They can be stamped into shape as well. They are heat treated. They're very high strength steel or a carbon steel blend. So they're made to be very durable and to last for a very, very long time. And you can tell on the side of the cylinder how long they've actually been in service, which is kind of interesting to look. If you're ever in the hospital, we're gonna look at a tank today. Actually, we're gonna look at several tanks today. So you can see all the markings on them, like how long they've actually been in service for. And some of them have been in service 50, 60, even longer plus years. So you can actually see that. So
You can just refill them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So cylinders should be capable of holding 10% overage, and that is a safety factor, which is why when you guys learn how to do tank durations, did she give you that safety factor? It's about 500 PSI, approximately. Okay, yeah. It should be about 10% over what the 2000 PSI actually is. So a full tank is 2000 PSI. It should be able to hold about 10% over that. And that's for when we're traveling with the tanks, when we're moving them to and from locations. First of all, they can get overfilled. And second of all, in transport, they can get hot. And if they get hot, what's going to happen? Heat causes expansion of those gas molecules. And you're going to learn about gas laws, okay, here in the next coming up lecture, which is always students' favorites. absolute favorite lecture is learning about gas laws in physics. I know, just really just wait with bated breath for that. I just can't wait to give it to you. So you're gonna learn what that means. But trust me, there is expansion that occurs. Like, so we're trying to make sure that we accommodate for that. So they also must have a pressure relief valve on them in case it does happen. So again, that they're not gonna take off like a missile if that should occur, because there's a safety issue there, obviously. They also need to be able to be hydrostatically tested at least every 5 or 10 years, depending on the size of the tank, to be able to test their elasticity, okay, in case that were to occur. And that's kind of a cool thing. Okay, so this is what you might see on the tank. These are the markings that are on them. Again, these are stamped into the metal itself, onto the steel itself. So kind of cool things. Okay, so you're gonna see on the top here, this is your Department of Transportation specifications. You're gonna be able to see the service pressure on there. There is a serial number here. Ownership stuff, but this is cool. There's going to be a manufacturer's mark that's specific to who manufactured this particular tank. So I do want you to know this guy up here, and I want you to know a manufacturer's mark, okay? On the other side of the tank here, there are several things that are unique. I don't care if you know any of this, the kind of steel that was used, okay? The expansion over here, but I want you to know these things. Okay, so we have the inspector's mark on this side right here, and then we have the retest dates. Okay, so this means that this guy was tested in 58, and then it was tested again 5 years later in 63, 5 years later in 68, 5 years later. This isn't old. I probably need to update it. Good Lord, have mercy. Right, okay, but this has been served. So every 5 years it's getting retested, and then it's got a positive. That means that it tested positive, so it was good. So it had it retested and passed the specifications for the cylinder. So that means this plus here, okay, that's its retest passed, all right? So again, inspector marking, like meaning like who actually tested it, the retest dates, and then the plus means that it passed its specifications. So those are the things you need to know on the back side of the cylinder, okay? So expect to see something like that coming soon to a classroom near you, or a computer quiz near you. Okay, these are what?
What if they tested and it failed?
Then it would have a negative and it'd be taken out of service. And hopefully you would never see that.
Hopefully,
Like,
Big old caution tape around that.
yeah, like it's gone, it goes out. All right, so these are the multiple varying sizes of cylinders. These are all green, meaning that they're all oxygen. The green is the color of oxygen cylinders. I have no idea which ones are which. I can't tell from the size of it, but we primarily use E's, which I'm gonna say that this is probably an E, and judging by just kind of this varying size, maybe this is an H. I can't quite tell. These caps that fit over this, these are the caps that fit over the stem of the cylinder, and the cap just protects the stem. And when you go outside today and look in the tank room, you'll be able to hold a cap, and the caps are really, really heavy. And again, they're meant to be, they screw into place, and again, they're to protect the stem of the tank, because the stem is the dangerous part of the tank, or the most vulnerable part, I should say. Oh, here we go. Okay, so this is showing you some of the different sizes. Again, the E is the most common size that we use in the hospital. It's the one that you're gonna throw on the bed when you're transporting a patient, or that are attached to the sides of the ventilators. And then the H tanks, these are the tall guys, they're as tall as I am, and they're the ones that we would use like for heliox, okay? They have that factor of 3.14, so they last a longer time. And they're the ones that we're gonna wheel in when we're doing those heliox treatments. Some of these are more for like home use, those small portable ones. you might see patients with, like when they're out and about in the grocery store, they have the pack that they can sit in. Okay, color coding. So again, remember I said that in the United States, except for Canada, color coding is all the same. So that makes it nice and easy so that you know, always know that what you're getting is gonna be color coded and should be what is in the tank. So these are the ones that you need to know. Carbon dioxide, that's something we would hardly ever give. We only are gonna use carbon dioxide when we're doing calibration of PFT equipment, okay? There's a couple other pieces of equipment maybe you might use it for, but that's the primary purpose of carbon dioxide. Now carbogen, you might see given, it's a little bit unusual, but you might see that one given. Okay, so air is yellow, nitrogen is black. Now we give nitric oxide, so you wanna add nitric to your list. Remember, nitric is given for?
Hypertension.
Yes, for pulmonary hypertension, good. And nitric oxide, the tank is a teal color, teal or turquoise colored. And I think I've got a picture of one coming up. So you wanna make sure you add that. Nitrogen is black. We also, you might see nitrous, okay, nitrous oxide. So nitric, this is different. Nitric is NO. Nitrous is N2O. And this is your anesthesia gas, is your nitrous oxide.
That's the light blue thing.
That's the blue tank. Yeah, it said light blue, but it really is more like a royal blue.
So that's blue.
Mm-hmm. And the nitric is the one that's like a teal or turquoise color. Oxygen is green. Don't worry about the white. In Canada, it's what is it?
Black and white.
It's black and white. Yeah, I don't know why. Helium is brown by itself. Heliox, meaning that's a mix of helium and oxygen, is going to be brown and green. So the collar will be brown and the tank will be green. Except for ours, apparently. That's all. I'm like, what's in this? Let's see.
You said air is black?
No, air is yellow.
Oh, what was the nitrous? Blue?
Nitrous is blue. Okay. All right. Okay, let's start off with our first safety system. This is for our small tanks. So size E or smaller. Okay, so again, E is the one that we're gonna be transporting with. It's gonna be the one that's attached to the ventilators. So our small tanks, this is the pin index safety system. So it's a series of 2 pins, and you're gonna find that on. So when you're using a regulator on a E-tank, okay, for a gas cylinder, it's a series of pins right here, okay? These little pins, and then they line up with the stem, okay, the stem on the tank, and each pin, each series of 2 pins has a different configuration, and you can see that. So these, so let's say this one is on a machine that's lining up with the cylinder, but this is sort of the same idea here. So they each have a numbering system of the pins, and this particular one is green. It is oxygen, and oxygen is going to be an index pin of 2 and 5. I think I've got a better picture, a little bit better. Okay, so this is your oxygen. Okay, it matches up, but here, if I hold it like that, I think that makes more sense. 2 and 5, And if you look over here, now this is the only other one I want you to know. You see how air is aligned differently? The pins are aligned differently in a different configuration. Air is 1 and 5. And I really wish that it should be like a clock, I feel like, right? The numbers should like align like a clock. If you're gonna give it numbers, like it should be like a clock face. It's not, I don't know why. But if you go back and you look, oopsies, if you go back and you look here, like you see, here's 1, okay, and then there's 5, which is why the 1 and the 5. And then oxygen is a 2 and a 5, which sort of, I don't know. Anyway, yes.
What's the difference between the oxygen and oxygen mixtures?
I have no idea. It could be like heliox, although, because heliox is 2 and 4 and 4 and 6. 2 and 6, that's carbon dioxide. But if that's 2 and 4 and 4 and 6, that doesn't make any sense. That's a great question that I don't have the answer to. And you don't need to know that. So, you need to know 2 and 5 and 1 and 5. And that's it. So, yep, oxygen is 2 and 5. And air is 1 and 5. And those are the only ones you need to know. There you have it. There it is, 2 and 5, 1 and 5. Okay, am I out of time?
Nope, we got like 8 minutes.
All right, okay. All right, so that's your pin index, okay? Again, for smaller tanks, E or smaller, all right? So, now, you're gonna be able to try to remember this. I'm gonna try to give you a sort of funny way to remember this, all right? E or smaller.
Oh,
Okay, now
pin
nobody
index
laugh.
safety system.
There you are,
Nobody
nobody
heard
laughed. All right, okay. Okay, now, we have another safety system in place. This is the American Standard Safety System, or the ASSS. This is for large tanks, okay, larger than E. Okay, so like our H tanks, our big tanks, okay? This is not on pins. This has to do with like threading on the tank, so the number of threads, whether that is a right-handed turn or a left-handed, okay? Whether it is externally threaded or internally threaded, which means like, is it a male or a female connection, okay? And it is, there we go, here it is. Diameter, number of threads per inch, right or left-handed threading, and then external or internal, meaning male or female, okay? So each gas has a unique connection based on this, okay? So we have the American Standard, okay, large, big, I want to say larger than E. Okay. I think I've got a picture. Of one. Ah, there we go. Okay. So there's a picture of one. So all of my